Welcome everyone to the latest installment of Gamer Headlines' Spoilercast. This is your one-stop destination for a spoiler-filled discussion on the best and the worst moments from a recently released game, movie, or TV show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adnan Riaz, and with me, as always, is my other co-host, Chris Cortez.
Bonesaw's ready! Sorry. Just wanted to... It's Marvel, right? Where it's like connected to the MCU. Well,
Bonesaw will be in this TV show should he be alive. Rest in peace, Macho Man.
Ah, yeah, dude. Fuck, he did pass away. Man, that guy was the shit. But yeah, guys, welcome. This is us, kind of doing a new. As you could tell, that was a new introduction, Adnan.
I did mess it up, but
it was beautiful. Dude, it was worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi Order. Wait, no, we gotta make MCU references. It was worthy of Tony Stark investing in it. There you go. But what's it called? But no, we're trying out a new format and new stuff, and we're gonna try to make Spoilercast, like you guys know, it's game, movie, TV show. We're going to really try to expand it out to stuff and put it out. And, Adnan and I are really big fans of Agent Carter, and the season 2 just ended recently. So we said, fuck it, let's talk about it. Let's talk about season... And we almost did one for season 1, and something happened where we just, I don't know, we weren't able to do it. But we are able to do it for season 2, but I really feel that maybe we should kind of like give our opinions first on season 1. Let's talk for a little bit, for like 5 minutes or something, Adam. Let's talk season 1 of Agent Carter before we jump into season 2. So, I think we both agree we both really dug season 1. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think it was where Carter was really standing out, and
it was very personal, right?
Yeah, it was a character piece, and I think because where it was set in the 50s and kind of after the war, Captain America's gone, the focus was central on Peggy Carter, and kind of her exploits after the war and everything else. And it was kind of, that personal touch made it something special, because with that and Marvel TV shows, when the character is that central and more to the fact that she is human above any of the other Marvel characters, it had such a grounded sense of reality. You could connect with this woman. You could connect with what she was doing, what she was fighting, adversity, kind of like sexism, everything else. There was so much meaning behind it. And the structure of... was it 10 episodes, I think, the first season?
No, season 1 was 8.
Sorry, 8, yeah.
Yeah.
So about 8 episodes. It had a good structure to it. It had good, like, ideas. The villains were, ordinary people as well, in a kind of common sense, ordinary people.
Or sexism at sometimes. That was the villain, Like... Carter had to like really battle that throughout the season, and they did that. They did it in such a great objectatory way that it just subjective, right? That it didn't come off as like oh come on man, you guys are like just pushing this agenda. Like it came off very genuine, and it was like really well done.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought that I was very much like on the train of like demanding for this show to kind of be renewed, and it was, and
and then season 2 happened. I agree with you, dude. I adored season 1 for like all the reasons you just said, and what I said also about it was very personal. Literally the show opened, if I recall, I think it opened with that scene from Captain America of Steve putting the ship down. I don't know if I'm confusing it with something else. I think
of season 1. Yeah, started with where he's putting the ship down.
Yeah, and it just jumps you in. Like here's Peggy post Steve. Like Steve is, well, in her mind, Steve's dead, and they kind of like that's bookended, because at the end of the season 1, which we thought might have been the series finale at the time, they kind of and honestly maybe it should have, but what's it called? It even like at the end of her like goodbye my love and dumping the blood. That was just, dude, it was really well done. And you're right, everything was very grounded. I know that dude, like like you are getting very sleepy, like that guy, but you bought into it, right?
It's believable. In that sense, you can always have that kind of like hero. It's kind of like the Metal Gear kind of effect, where you have like a ninja. A cyborg ninja straight from an anime, kind of almost like trying to be a grounded story in the Western hemisphere, and this ninja's coming out of nowhere, and there's a sniper that has this power, and a shaman, and all these. You can kind of look over it, to see where the bigger picture is, and it's not necessarily where it's like it's out of place. It fits perfectly within what it's trying to suggest and say.
It's like a big suspension of disbelief. Like, but it's like, you could do it though. It's not like, what is it? It's not like fucking Spider-Man 1 with Willem Dafoe. I love Willem Dafoe, but that movie, that's super cartoony, like it's meant to be.
Yeah, it's pure cartoon.
Yeah. But okay, so that was kind of our thoughts on season 1. We adored it. I remember I told when Ad and I found out, it was like at the 0 hour, because season 1's ratings were really bad. And then, we were like, wow, fuck, that's over with. And then they announced season 2, and we're like, oh my god, this is going to be great. And then season 2 happened, and, well, I guess we'll jump into it. Dude, I think we could both agree season 2 was definitely not as good. It's a very nice way of saying it was not as good as season 1.
It became Spider-Man 1.
It was less than stellar.
Simplistic way. Yeah, it was like for me, kind of sitting into it, it was that kind of show where I almost got to the 4th episode. I was like, I can stop watching this, but I'll keep watching because I'm committed.
Right.
And the cartoony effect has really kind of hit me hard to the point where I don't care, because it took Agent Carter out of her kind of like this story arc itself from the first season, where she could have kept going where she was going, and it completely turned it to a different setting, a different city, retained some of the characters, and then it expanded the plot to the point where it's almost like just collapsing on itself, and the way it can't just hold itself, because it wasn't a character piece anymore. Peggy Carter was less central to that entire show than anything. That felt like a Shield episode, because it was just that kind of thing where she's not important anymore. She's just like, generally, she is not. What can we learn about Peggy Carter? Her kind of interests were kind of like varied, and they kind of hit on them here and there. But there were so many other characters that were kind of catering to, and like Jarvis in his small amounts in season 1 was very good to have as a sidekick. But he took such a central role in season 2 to the point where it was kind of like overshadowing Peggy. The story wasn't focused on Peggy; she was doing something else. And it was kind of like, for me, it was falling on its way. For me, but the biggest thing for me though definitely was the fact that it became a superhero kind of show, very much cartoony kind of characteristics, because it took away that sense of realism, that oppression, that kind of fight that Peggy was having, that overcoming her, what she felt to the captain and everything else. And obviously they kind of ended that because she threw the blood thing over, and then saying, oh yeah, she's kind of like, moving on or whatever else. But there was still something to the point where you kind of like looked at it and you're like, it's gone completely in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's not a terrible direction, but it kind of deterred from what was such an excellent starting point to the point where you feel like maybe season 2 shouldn't have existed for what it was. That's what I kind of took away from.
I was going to say, yeah, man, you brought something up that's great comparison. It did feel more like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, it's almost like the producers were like, fuck, man, like, our Agent Carter season 1, ratings or whatever, in compared to season 2 of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was going on at the time, like, they're like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing better. We just got season 2. Let's make season 2 more like S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's like, dude, if I wanted to see S.H.I.E.L.D., and look, I watch S.H.I.E.L.D., so like, if I watched the show, but Carter is like something totally different, and I wanted to break from S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little bit to get something new. But you're right, man. It kind of reached that point of like silliness, and like cartooniness, and not, and Carter is just not one of those things. It's very grounded. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of show it should be, because it's like, we said, it's non-powered characters.
Well, if you use the actual examples of Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there'd obviously be a reason. If you're going to do that, you'd do it because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is popular.
Yeah.
And its ratings are a lot more successful, and kind of like the more seasons, more appeal. Maybe they were looking at that kind of way of like moving Carter towards that direction, but it didn't really have its own 2 feet to stand on, because you're kind of crushing the identity of what that show was worth. It's a hard one though, because like, again, it was just that kind of point where I was really kind of like getting to the point where I didn't care about the story anymore, and that's the worrying part, because Agent Carter season 1 had a brilliant story, but season 2 was just kind of so loosely thread together, and there's that kind of like really weird supernatural elements to the point where I was like, why? It's like, why is this even happening? Like, what can you potentially get away from it?
Yeah. No, definitely agree with that. It just came up, and plus, like, and by the way, guys, remember, we are spoiling things, but like, plus the character Whitney Frost, right? So like the main villain of the season, how she gets the zero matter powers and all that crap. Like, dude, they made such a fuss about her. They made her such a badass, and literally they got rid of her in the finale by shooting her with a fucking cannon. Like, they shot a ray beam at her, and they're like, well, we did it! She's back to normal. And it's like, what was the point of having this, like, spectacular villain if you're not going to have, like, this epic confrontation between Carter and Frost? You know what I mean? Like, it seemed like such a waste of an idea. Even if you're going to go that route, which I disagree with them going that route, like, why even bother? Why even bother if you're going to, like, get rid of the character that quick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Again, like, if we're going to go, like, shows like I'm going to say me personally, I'm not sure about you, I like the kind of shows in the MCU, or even if they're not part of the MCUs, where it's really grounded. It doesn't necessarily have to be completely dark, but there's a kind of sense of where it just feels realistic. The world isn't too cartoony, because superhero movies are fatiguing me beyond belief. I will keep watching them. I'm not going to doubt it, saying that, I'm this person, I'm not going to watch it because I will keep watching them. But the thing is that I'm so sick of cliches and everything else, and just kind of like those kind of things are built on cliches. But it's like when Jarvis writes that suicide note to his wife, or not suicide note, that his will to his wife. And it's like suggesting that he's dead, and it's like, oh no, he's not going to die, and lo and behold, he doesn't die. Because I would give the producers props for doing that. Because it would be like, fucking hell, it sets up that entire, like, kind of motif, like, you know, how Jarvis is Tony Stark's kind of, like, voice.
Right.
Because it could even built into that, because during the megaphone he has in his house, and he has that terrible burglar alarm.
Right.
He's like, you know, we're going to bring the police. It would have made perfect sense, because then, like, you know, it would have been Tony's dad, like, mourning him, and, like, kind of, like, showing a real, kind of, like, even bigger kind of idea of what Jarvis was.
Right.
But again, it wasn't what I expected. But obviously, my expectation is different. But generally, though, there's just so much problems with it. Like, I'm going to drift away from this, because I'm going to go more on the positive. There were great things. Hayley Atwell, again, is just as she is, brilliant. The character's built for her. She's made the character what it is, and props to her again for the acting. Again, a lot of stellar acting around her as well. And the cast, great humour. There's some great humour moments with, like, you know, when Jarvis is training outside. He's got his gym gear on, and she's like, oh, Jarvis, cover yourself, and blah blah, and then they start that fight. You know, it has those great moments again, but they were completely overshadowed by the other problems that were in the show, and it was just like, would you recommend it to someone? Not really.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. I know, I agree with you, man. I think here's the thing about superhero movies, and I hope this becomes. I think it is going to become a trend, but I really, really, really hope it becomes a trend. So you have superhero movies and superhero shows and stuff like that are, like, it's not how it was back in the day, where it's like, oh, you see that, like, the studio executives are like, you see that? The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight made like $30 billion. We gotta make Spider-Man dark and gritty and grounded. It'll make like $300 billion, you know, or whatever. Like, they're being a little bit smarter. They're saying, shit, you know, Dark Knight did well because Batman in itself is a dark franchise. Daredevil is a dark comic book. Let's make this TV show dark. They made it dark. It was super, you know, successful and was true to the character. Spider-Man is a lot more lighthearted and, you know, has a lot more flair. And I'm sure Marvel, now that they're helping Sony, is going to make the new Spider-Man movie just like that. You know, Iron Man has like some moments where it can be kind of dark, but for the most part, Iron Man's kind of like, you know, he cracks jokes and shit. He makes fun of people. So they're doing that, you know, and I like that. What I hate is when they try to assimilate something to appear as something else. Agent Carter should, without a doubt, be a show that's set in the 40s and has Carter, you know, like, you could have, like, weird technology. You could have, like, you know, villains that you're going to adapt from the comics to, like, a 1930s. You could do stuff like that. But to straight up have, like, a Zambow, you know, like, kaplooey, you know, like, villain, and to try to, like, take the show in a direction. And plus, you're already putting the show in California, so, like, shit, you're already making it something fresh. So to make it even more different by doing, you know, what we're talking about, like, it just makes it that much more awkward. And I think that was the problem with Season 2 of Carter. Like, Season 1, they stuck to the roots of the character. They made it very grounded. And you look, man, Captain America was grounded, right, to a certain degree, but then you had, like, you know, you had Der Red Skull, and, like, he was believable, though, the way they did it, because he was, like, a failed Captain America, essentially. But, I I don't know. I mean, I guess the portals and the zero matter and all that, it makes sense, I guess. But, like, that to me is like an episode, not like the whole arc, you know?
Yeah, it became too far-fetched for being far-fetched. And that in itself, you know, is a double kind of, like, problem where you create, because as it is, like, that, as you said, would be a filler episode. You know, every season has to have filler episodes. Unfortunately, as it is, you deter plots for a reason, because you can kind of build over it and you kind of just give people more reasons to keep watching the show. Like, if a newcomer comes in, they don't necessarily have to watch the other episodes to know what's going on.
Right.
But it was just that it wasn't a really interesting expanding story arc. It was so drifted towards the fact it wasn't focusing on Carter. Carter is the main centerpiece. The show is called Marvel's Agent Carter. Agent Carter is the focus. She should be able, because you want to know what she does leading up to the point where Captain America comes out of sleep, like, you know, out of his state. You want to know what Peggy Carter gets up to that point, because her entire life is very interesting. But, well, we want it to be very interesting because we want to know what happens up to her. How does she, you know, even if it was ridiculous, they could have even had the idea where, you know, Steve Rogers turns up at certain points, like, you know, if she's in a room and, like, kind of, like, thinking about it, that should be one of the kind of elements of the story where it had that kind of, like, ghost-like Steve Rogers kind of hounding her about her past. Like, you know, you can't just escape the past because you threw my blood over a fucking bridge and we're over. You know, there's more of a thing to it. There's that kind of element that there's. So it's like when you watch Hannibal, that, you know, that the iconography and everything else they use in that film, in that entire TV show, is brilliant, because it always is that fact that Will Graham is always thinking about Hannibal Lecter, or what he wants to think about Hannibal Lecter, or, you know, that kind of perception of what he thinks Hannibal Lecter is. Just along those lines, it's a million different interpretations. It's that kind of fact where it builds characters to the point where they become the centerpiece of a show. Carter doesn't become it. Like, I understand you want to change the settings, you want to give it a new kind of life, new lease on life, and kind of just change things and maybe hope for the best, but it wasn't done properly, though, because it's just kind of like the Susan kind of Peggy relationship, how that relationship fell apart with the other person, this happened, and they're chasing each other, and then this, and then this, and then this, that, and, you know, this other kind of arc, and, you know, what's the guy with the blonde hair called? The, blonde hair, the other guy that works in thing with him.
Jack Thompson.
Jack Thompson, like, you know, he's more of a fucking double agent than Ray Winston's character in Indiana Jones. Like, it fucking hell.
Jonesy!
Jonesy, I'm a triple agent!
Remember what I said when we saw each other? Do you remember Australia? You mean the... I can't do it. I don't remember the line right now.